Good evening, everyone, all the way from Thailand. Today, I want to talk about the topic of betrayal, specifically self-betrayal. This video for me is quite personal because this is something before monkhood that I struggle with for almost my entire life. I want to share how I betrayed myself. I want to share how it presented, what were the symptoms of self-betrayal, and then two, how did I solve this issue for myself? And again, this is just a personal story. So many people are struggling, so many people have challenges when it comes to this part, and for me, I just wanted to do my part and give you insight and a perspective that may be helpful. Again, with all these types of videos, if it's helpful for you, please utilize it, and if it's not okay, then no problem, let's keep moving. But let's start from the very beginning. Betrayal for me was in every aspect of my life. How it started is because for my nature and my personality is I'm a people pleaser. I don't want conflict. And some people will look at me and they will say, well, because Venerable Nick, because of what you've been through, we call that a trauma. Because of the environment that you were raised in. For me is, I don't know. I don't know, but the point is, growing up my whole life, I was the type of person who wanted harmony, who through the context that I was in, I didn't want any conflict. And anytime things came up, I would just try to make a decision and a choice where everyone will win. I don't want to rock the boat to the point where then I would neglect me. I would not take time to honor me and to check in with me. What do I want? And this was a big problem because it bled into everything. In the beginning, I didn't even know that it was an issue because it worked and it kept the harmony. But slowly, year by year, it bled into small things and it bled into big things in my life, and it went everywhere like a cancer. Some of the things that it bled into was just with my friendships. When people asked me to do things, because I didn't want any conflict, or maybe I didn't have the confidence, I'm not sure exactly what it was, but I would just go with the flow. The things that people wanted to do, sure, let's do it. And somewhere along the lines, then I noticed and I heard the voice of, I don't want to do those things. And many times I would betray that. I wouldn't speak up. I wouldn't even insert my own opinion, again, due to not wanting that conflict. People would share with me the activities that they wanted to do, going to football games and doing different activities, going to play sports or going to engage in a certain gathering, going to a party. And for me, if I were to be honest, I didn't like any of that. But there was a part of me that felt pressured. There was a part of me that wanted to fit in. And again, let's just go with the flow. So that's how it bled into some of the activity with friends. It would bleed in through with my family. And I come from a conservative family, Asian family, who told me what they wanted of me. And they did their best. And for them, being successful meant you needed a good education. You needed a career path that was very specific. You need to be an expert, you need to be a doctor, you need to be a lawyer, all those successful fields. And for me, I went along with that. I did many education programs because, again, this is what was expected of me. There was a part of me that wanted to please my family, and also there was a part of me that I just didn't want that conflict. Again, let's just go, let's just do my best. I did 3 PhD programs. I dropped out every single one of them, and It was a learning experience. But again, this was another example. It even bled to the type of careers that I wanted. Originally for myself is I wanted to work in the entertainment industry. I was working as a dancer on the side, secretly, privately, without my family knowing, because it didn't go along with the values, but I couldn't open that, I couldn't share that. And again, I just did what was expected of me. It bled into romantic relationships where, depending on the partner, I would enjoy and do things just because they want to do it. If you were to ask me, what kind of restaurant do I want to go to? What kind of food do I want to eat? What kind of music do I like? What kind of crowds do I want to hang with? If these people, if my partner enjoyed those things, cool. And I'm gonna go with it. And again, you can start to see the patterns, you can start to see the trend, and bit by bit, I started to neglect parts of me. Even when it comes to dressing, the clothes that I would wear, I would feel pressured and to dress in a specific and certain way that would be accepted by the people that I was around. I remember going to a very nice, hip clothing shop. I won't say the name, but I didn't know how to match. I didn't know how to dress in this way, and it wasn't even my style. But I took so much effort, so much time to fit into this mold. And bit by bit, like I said, it started to build up upon itself. So when I talk about betrayal, what I'm talking about is there was a part of me somewhere along the way that gave guidance, shared with me the things that I should pursue, the things that I wanted to do, but from my situation, I either neglected it, I either rejected it, pushed it down, I don't want to see it, and this was just what it is. So with this betrayal and not taking the time to honor myself, what were the symptoms? What's the effect of this? So one of the effects for me was that slowly, bit by bit, I started to feel like a zombie is the word that best describes it. And while I was successful in the things that I was doing, from the outside looking at my life, it looks like, wow, I have it all. And things were going so well. But internally, if I were to be honest, I felt disconnected. I felt like I was looking at myself. I felt like I was looking at my life from this third person perspective, as if I wasn't part of it. I don't know how to quite explain it in words, but slowly I just felt disconnected. Slowly I felt like I wasn't involved. I wasn't excited, and there was a part of me that was numb. And I felt like a robot where the days, the activities, the things that I was getting involved in, it just felt mundane. And I would go this activity to the next activity to the next activity, like I said, just like a zombie, fully numb. And from that and rejecting myself, I started to get into activities that were not so healthy, into relationships that were not so healthy. And slowly, this is how my journey started to progress. So then the next thing I want to get into is then, how did I solve this issue? There's two things that I want to point out. The first thing is then I didn't solve it. That was the first part, or the first phase, is because everyone around me was happy. Everyone around me was content because I didn't cause any ruffles. I didn't cause any conflict. The things that they were wanting for me, I did. And I just went along I just rejected that part of me. So again, no issue. While there was this inkling, this nudging, this little voice inside that was trying to grow itself. For me, nope, not listening to it, because again, at that time, it worked. While there was still some suffering that was starting to appear, it wasn't as bad. It wasn't as bad because, okay, I might feel like a zombie, I might feel numb and disconnected, but at the end of the day, it worked. And everyone is happy, everyone is content, life is moving on, I have a good job, I have a good relationship, I have activities that I want to do, so not an issue. And that's how I justified it in my life. So from this, if it's not broken, let's keep going. So I thought. So that's what I did. Again, just go with the flow. Monday turns into Tuesday. Tuesday turns into Wednesday. This year turns into the next, and let's just keep going. Let's play the game. Now we get to stage 2. Stage 2 and how my life changed is when I experienced a breakup with my ex-girlfriend of 5 years. The way I would describe my life up to this point was that it was like a game of Jenga. Jenga is the block puzzles where you keep building one block on top of another. And I've learned how to build my life up with the identity that I wanted, with the job that I wanted, with the environment that I wanted, and it just worked. But when this relationship fell apart, when I went through this breakup, it's like this piece of Jenga wood was pulled and everything came crumbling down. And this was the beginning of my journey. This was the hardest period of my life because the image, the identity, the lifestyle that I was building up, it came crashing down. And in this place, it was the darkest time in my life. And it was dark because I lost my identity. I lost my self-worth. I lost the meaning and the mask that I put up there, and I had nothing to cling on to. And this phase was so scary. This phase was so lonely and dark, and without all of these blocks and this facade that I built up for decades, I didn't know what to do with it. So while this was the most challenging time, looking back at it, I would say this was the best thing that has ever happened to me. And what I learned from this breakup was a few things. The first thing that it revealed to me was that my whole life, I was a people pleaser. I did not want that conflict. I wanted that harmony, and I was willing to sacrifice myself at all costs to keep everything very stable. That was the first thing that I realized and what this showed to me. The second thing that I realized was that in this process, I neglected myself. I didn't take time to really speak for me. I didn't make an effort or have the courage or even make the attempt to let my voice be heard. The things that were brewing inside, the dreams that I had, the activities that I wanted, I didn't put it out there. And this is what I mean by I consistently betrayed myself time and time and time again. I was influenced by everyone else around me, and I didn't give myself the chance to be at the table to make these choices. And the third thing that it revealed for my own life was that while I betrayed myself, everyone around me was happy. Everyone around me got what they wanted, except for me. Except for me. And the feeling that it came with wasn't pleasant. And while everyone had harmony outside, for me, internally, it was chaotic. It was brewing. And I wasn't happy, I wasn't content as I could be. So then this leads me to the next step of having this awareness, having this recognition. How did I solve this issue? So let's go into the 4 steps that were helpful to overcoming this self-betrayal. The first step to fixing this problem is that you have to recognize that it's a problem. For me, at the age that I was at, in the context that I was in, looking back at my whole life and the patterns that I was displaying, how it showed up, I said, it's a problem. And I'm not willing to do this, and I want to fix it. Did it work for me before in the past up to this point? Sure, yes, it worked until it didn't. And in this moment with the breakup, with this new period in my life, I said I'm rebuilding my foundation and I need to fix this. It's no longer working for me, and I wanted to go all in. I needed to recognize this is a problem, and I needed to make a choice of I am ready to change and I'm ready to fight for me. The second step in this process is to remove all distractions. Once I realized that I needed to make these types of changes, I realized that my life was filled with so many distractions. I was busy. I was busy from the time that I woke up all the way to the time that I fell asleep. And while it looks like I was making so much progress, in reality, if I were to be honest, it's that it distracted me from looking at me. To get this change process going, I said I need to eliminate that and make more room. I need to make more space. So all the activities that were no longer serving me, all those busy activities that were just a distraction, I need to stop. I stopped going out and partying. I stopped drinking with my buddies who we would always go out to the nightlife. I stopped engaging in activities that just took time and wasn't going towards my goals. I stopped with a lot of spending, and one way for me that I would stuff and keep me from fixing myself was I would go shopping. I know that might sound silly, but I would fill up so much of my time of going to the mall, spending a lot of money, looking at the ways that I would dress, and again, those were all distractions. So by getting rid of people, by getting rid of places, by getting rid of things and activities that took up so much of my energy and my effort, now this was the step. Let me free that. When you stop doing those things, now you can have more time, you can have more energy, so then you can put that effort into making that change. So this was step number 2, by eliminating all of the distractions. Once you eliminate these distractions, then take time to get to know yourself. I realized that for my whole life, I just went with the flow, what was expected of me, and this was my fault. And this was my responsibility that I did not take, which was get to know me. And from this point, I had to take that time to build that relationship with me. I didn't realize it was so bad that I didn't even know my favorite color. Like I shared with you, for me is I'm a chameleon, and I would adjust and compromise and adapt myself for the environment and who I was around. And when everything fell apart, I had to get to know me from ground zero. I started by just daily activities of when I would go to work. This is a true example. When I went to the cafeteria, we would have a buffet. The cafeteria lady would ask us, do you want hamburgers or do you want hot dogs? And it may sound silly to the people who are watching out there, but for myself, I had to take a moment, no joke, there was a line right behind me, and I said, everyone, time out. Let me check. In this moment, what do I want and what do I like? Okay, do I want hamburgers or do I want hot dogs? Okay, in this moment, just check in with me, not what anyone else wants, but in this moment, I just want a hamburger. And this may sound silly, but this built the foundation. And I had to do this with everything. I had to do this with what is my favorite color? What kind of music do I even like? Because I'm so tainted by what my peers, what my coworkers like, what my brothers like. But now tune out all the noise and check in. And I did this, and I went through my life from scratch, and I had to rebuild again, and this takes time. Another way that I got to know myself is through just simply being alone, simply taking the time to enjoy my own company. Up to this point, I didn't know how to do that. I would enjoy things, I would enjoy activities with other people, I would enjoy situations, but if you were to remove external stimulus, what do I do with myself? I didn't know how to appreciate my own company, and just to sit alone, just to be with my own thoughts, just to go on a drive in the car and have a Saturday afternoon by myself. This was so helpful. Also, along with this, then I started to read books, listen to podcasts, feed myself with good information to help me guide myself to knowing me. Other things that can be helpful is journaling, just taking the time to write out your experience so you can see, so you can process and release these emotions and be able to observe yourself. So this, along with meditation, having time to reflect and contemplate, all of this I would gather into taking time to know you. Not only being able to appreciate time with yourself, but also ask yourself the important questions like, what are your values? I know many of you have tried to explore your values before, but have you explored your values in this present moment? And in that present moment, when I lost everything, I needed to reevaluate. And what I thought were important after this breakup, you better believe it was a game changer. And from this, I needed to check in this present moment. What do I believe in anymore? What do I value? What kind of lifestyle do I want to live? Do I want to work 80 hours every single day? Do I value just money? Do I value time and relationships? Do I value simplicity? And these things you can't answer in 2 hours. Maybe you can, but I feel like if possible, give yourself the time to explore. Give yourself the time to wrestle and check in of what are my values and what do I believe in. And this is quite important because this is going to be your foundation moving forward. So step number 3 is to get to know yourself. For step number 4, I would say that it goes hand in hand with step number 3 of knowing yourself. And step number 4 is to start to take action. Not only take action, but to follow through. This was important because for me, I didn't trust me. I didn't trust myself. I didn't have that confidence because I kept betraying my own words. I kept betraying me because there were parts of me that wanted to do things. There were part of me that had these big dreams, and each and every single time I would undercut it. I would undercut it by not keeping my words. And when we don't keep our words, to some people, it may seem like it's not a big deal. I said I'm gonna work out and I don't work out. That's not a big deal. But for me, it is a big deal because in that moment, I betrayed me. I don't even have the confidence. I don't even have the stamina to follow through, and that was not okay. And because I did not have that skill, I needed to rebuild it. And the way I rebuilt it was to start to make a list of things that I should do. And it can be big or small. Write anything down. Cleaning your room, pursuing a hobby, doing a Google search, exploring this new activity, talking to a friend, apologizing, cleaning your room, but the list goes on and on. It doesn't matter. Write these things down and pick one item, cross it off the list. And when we start to do that, now you can build trust in yourself. When I say I'm gonna do something, I keep my word and I trust me. And I would do this every single day, and I would do this for years, building up this skill of, when I say I'm gonna do this, I know and I trust that it will be accomplished. And it took some time. An example, a real life example that I used that was a game changer for me was with meditation. And I use the habit of meditation as a tool to train myself. I said I'm gonna meditate a minimum of 5 minutes a day. And I did this for one whole year, 365 days. Every morning I would wake up. I would then, at the end of my meditation, I would donate $1. And then from this brightness, this purity, this still mind, I would make a resolution for my life. May I be happy and healthy. May the path that I'm going on be free of obstacles and suffering. May the right people show up. But this process for me was important because I was fighting for myself. Each and every single time, I felt more confident. Each and every single time, it built that habit and that skill. And again, I can slowly start to trust me. But these were the types of activities that were so helpful. And how this activity translated into my life was now I started to trust myself with small decisions. And trusting myself with small decisions later meant that I would trust myself with big decisions and medium decisions, and I started to act on it, and this is how my life started to change. But these are the 4 steps that how I started to build that trust in me again. For those who are watching, I want to give a disclaimer. And the purpose of this video is not to rebel and revolt and everyone's a problem. No, not at all. Please listen to this video with wisdom. Everyone's situation is different, and we need to honor our situation. Some contexts, you do have to betray yourself. Some contexts, you do have to do what you have to do, and you're not in a place where you can make the decisions that you want, and it's okay, but it takes time. time. But what I do want to leave you all with is that regardless of your situation, make time to get to know you. Why is knowing yourself so important? It's because throughout life, you're gonna have to make decisions. If you do not know your values, if you do not know yourself and what you want in your life, if you do not have an anchor point, when you have to make decisions, you're gonna rely on your outside environment. You're gonna rely on someone else. And if we can take the time to have this anchor when a decision is presented to you, then now you can fully take this responsibility and make a choice for your life that best suits you. But I hope this makes sense. I hope this is helpful. And for me, I don't blame my friends. I don't blame my family. I don't blame the culture and the environment that I was in, or even myself. But I did the best that I could. The people around me also did the best that they could. And the analogy that comes to my mind is, I feel like when you come into this life is you're in a car. And in the beginning, we're sitting in the back seat of the car. And there's people driving this car forward. We're just passengers. And because we may not have the power, because we may not have the choice to make at that time, my parents drove everything. My family and my environment drove everything in the beginning, and it's okay. But there comes a point in our life that I find, if you want, then you can say, thank you everyone. You driven me up to this point. You did the best you can, and I fully appreciate it. And moving forward for me, now I want to get into the driver's seat. I want to drive this car. I want to make full decisions for myself. And at this point, it's time for me to take over the wheel. But I hope we can navigate this in a responsible way. Take time to get to know you as best as you can, and I hope this resonates and is helpful for all of you out there. But if you can, feel free to share your stories and your journeys, and as a group, as a community, we can learn and grow from one another. So I hope this was helpful, and again, keep doing the work. Thank you everyone. Satu.